Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Ram,
Prabhu, would you like the harmonium?
No. Hare Krishna. I don't know how to play the harmonium. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
I am very, very grateful and honored to be here with you all.
That's our son.
Sorry. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
I hope everybody is fine if I speak in English.
Yes.
The other day I was giving a class, and then almost 40 minutes into the class, and somebody raises their hand and says, "Speak in Hindi, please." Yeah.
I think if you throw a little bit of Fiji Hindi, everybody will understand as well.
Allow me to speak English. I'm very, very grateful and honored to be here in your association, and sincerely apologize. I'm a little late. I'm new to your country, so I'm completely dependent on the mercy of Shakti Aladini wherever she takes me, in whichever route she takes me through.
You were sleeping. You were tired.
So, indeed a great honor for me to be seeing Navadwipa and Govinda Mohini, and actually all of you. And when I see Govinda Mohini, I get reminded of the Fiji School of Medicine days. My wife used to, they were both together in the same class. And I think the rest will just leave it at that. But anyway, so I'll try my best to give value to your time. I know time is very valuable. You have taken out your precious time to be here, and I can see so much hope and expectation in your eyes, and it scares me. But nevertheless, we are all sitting in the shelter of Giriraj and Srila Prabhupada, whereas Srila Prabhupada being the Jagat Guru, having given us the opportunity for Krishna consciousness, just as much as we sing, Yadi Gaura na hoy, if Lord Chaitanya was not there, who would have revealed the love of Radha and Krishna to us, I would say, more than Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, had it not been for Srila Prabhupada. So, sitting at his shelter, let us all pray in the mood of Srila Prabhupada, how he wanted the love of Radha and Krishna through Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and Nityananda Prabhu in the disciplic succession come to us. Let us all pray and give our attempt to imbibe the transcendental knowledge that Srila Prabhupada has given us. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Gopi Janavallabha Girivaradhari Jaya Gopi Janavallabha Girivaradhari Yashodanandana Braja Janaranjana Yashoda Braja Janaranjana Yamuna Tira Vanachari Yamuna Tira Vanachari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Gopi Janavallabha Girivaradhari Yashodanandana Braja Janaranjana Yamuna Tira Vanachari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Jai Jai Radha Raman Hari Bol, Jai Jai Radha Raman Hari Bol. Jai Jai Radha Raman Hari Bol, Jai Jai Radha Raman Hari Bol, Jai Jai Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Nitai Gaura Hari Bol. Jaya Jaya Prabhupada, 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 Jaya Jaya Prabhupada. Jaya Jaya Gurudev, 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 Jaya Jaya Gurudev. Nikai Gaur Brahmanande, Devam Vishnupad Paramahansa Pariva Jakacharya, Astuta Shatashi Srimad Divine Grace AC Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada ki jai. ISKCON PPT Founder Acharya Srila Prabhupada ki jai. ISKCON Guru Vrinda ki jai. Shri Guru Parampara ki jai. Gangamai Jamnamai ki jai. Bhakti Devi Tulsi Maharani ki jai. Naam Acharya Srila Haridas Thakur ki jai. प्रेम से कहो श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर शिवासादि गौर भक्त वृंद की जय। श्री श्री गौर निताय भगवान की जय। श्री श्री सीताराम लक्ष्मण भक्त हनुमान की जय। श्री श्री राधा कृष्ण गोपीनाथ श्याम कुंड राधा कुंड गिरि गोवर्धन की जय। श्री श्री राधा कृष्ण भगवान की जय। ग्रंथ श्रीमद् भागवतम की जय। आनंद कोटि वैष्णव वृंद की जय। Savior of the whole world, Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Nitai Gaur Premanande. Om Ajnanatirmirandasya Jnananjanashalakya Chakshurunmilitam Jena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Shri Chaitanya Manobhistam Sthapitam Jena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamayyam Dadati Swapadantikam. Vandeyaham Shri Guru Shri Yutabadakamalam Shri Guru Vaishnavangscha Sri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunathanvitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadutam Parijana Sahitam Sri Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakhanvitam Sra He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Deenabandhu Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namastute तप्त कंचन गौरंगी राधे वृंदावनेश्वरी वृषभानुसुते देवी प्रणमामि हरिप्रिये वाञ्छा कल्पतरुभ्यश्च कृपा सिन्धुभ्येव च पतितानां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः नमः ॐ विष्णुपादाय कृष्णाप्रस्थाय भूतले श्रीमते भक्तिवेदान्त स्वामिनिति नामिने नमस्ते सरस्वती देवे गौरवाणी प्रचारिणे निर्विशेष शून्यवादी पाश्चादेशतारिणे जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासदि गौर भक्त वृंदा हरे कृष्ण 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे. Everyone can repeat after me. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. जस्या प्रसादाद भगवत् प्रसादो जस्या प्रसादान्नागति कुतोऽपि ध्यायन् सुवंस्तस्य यस्य श्रीसन्ध्यम् वन्दे गुरो श्री चरणारविन्दम् वन्दे गुरो श्री चरणारविन्दम् वन्दे गुरो श्री चरणारविन्दम् नमां विष्णुपादाय कृष्णप्रस्थाय श्रीमते तमो कृष्ण गोस्वामिनिति नामिने. Hare Krishna. So we can read from Srimad Bhagavatam. Currently I am reading Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 1, Chapter 2. And the title of the chapter is Pure Devotional, Canto 2, Chapter 2. The title of the chapter is Pure Devotional Service, the Change in the Heart. The change means the goal is defined. It is not said pure devotional service, change in the heart. Change in the heart can be anything. So you follow the process of devotional service and you are not clear about the goal, so some things will happen. But that is not the way Srimad Bhagavatam defines. Srimad Bhagavatam defines it in a very specific manner. That once we are doing pure devotional service, what should be the result? Generally, we all understand that we take to some spiritual practice, and generally in this world we follow the 4 purusharthas, right? Dharma, Artha, Kama and Moksha. We are following Dharma to get better Dharma, Artha, economic development. Dharma, Artha. Why do we need better economic development? Because we want fulfillment of Dharma, Artha, Kama, fulfillment of desire. So this is basically describing, these 3 things are basically describing what you and I are going through. We are living in this world. So we cannot deny that we are living in this world, and therefore we cannot actually live out of this world as well. But of course, when it comes to the end of life, it's like, in some respects we are celebrating the glorious departure of our parents. Why I say glorious? Because the word of Bhagavatam will not go in vain. Lord Nrsimhadev promised Prahlad Maharaj that if a son becomes a devotee, 21 generations are liberated. And if the daughters become devotees, hundreds of generations. And even the icing on the cake is, when you have 3 girls, 3 daughters becoming devotees. You can go back as Satyuga in the dynasty. So we live in this world and basically centered around the fact dharma, artha, kama and moksha. But Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, he specifically advented or knowing the fact that in Kali Yuga, we actually do not have much capabilities. We may have some material capabilities. That reminds me, in the Srimad, again in the first canto of Srimad Bhagavatam, when Maharani Kunti is praying to Lord Krishna. So when Krishna is leaving for Dwarka from Hastinapur after having established Yudhishthir Maharaj as king of Hastinapur. So we all know the famous prayer of Kunti Maharani. She says, let all the calamities befall me again and again. If it means that if I am in a situation of calamities and you are going to be with us, then let it be. If we are going to be all happy and you will go, then we don't want that situation. No, this is not something, at my level or your level, we are in, probably we can say we are in that state that we can make a prayer. If we made a prayer like that, we might say very humbly, Krishna, you can do whatever, Ashlish, Papa, Data, Vinastamam, whether you embrace me, or, you make me broken hearted. But really, if he makes us broken hearted, we are saying, why? And we'll ask Krishna, why? Why me? Why me? We offer all respects to Sudama, they're such a great devotee, but Krishna don't make me Sudama. So we are not at that level. Yet Chaitanya Mahaprabhu came and is ready to give us Krishna Prem, which is the highest goal of life. So Srimad Bhagavatam is describing that Tad asmasharam hridayam batedam yad grihamaneir hari nam adhyaye na vikriye tatha yada vikaro netre jalam gatra ruheshu harsha. Certainly that heart is steel framed, which in spite of one's chanting the holy name of the Lord with concentration does not change when ecstasy takes place. Tears fill the eyes and the hairs stand on end. Just for a moment think how deep this statement is. If you were to read this statement in reverse, then it will say that we can experience the standing of the hair on end. We can experience tears coming from our eyes. We can experience ecstasy. Yet the heart is not changed. And very good example is that of Bharat Maharaj. Bharat Maharaj was just one step to Krishna Prem. Just one step to Krishna. Ado Shraddha Tata Sadhu Sangatha Bhajan Kriya Anartha Nivriti Nishtha Ruchi Bhava Prem. Bharat Maharaj on the stage of Bhava. Why we should consider, why we should take this into consideration? We all know value for money, right? We have $100, and we all have some idea. If you go shopping, what should fill your basket with $100? We all have some idea. If you send your child for shopping, and he spends $100 and probably gets 3/4 of the basket, would you be happy? No. Half? Not. Now you are developing my anger. If he came with quota, we might beat up the child. And if he came with nothing, you might have to see a doctor. My child is abnormal. So similarly in Krishna consciousness, let us all go to the first day. Just try and think for a moment. No one has to give me an answer, but just think about that moment when you decided to become a devotee. You must have met many devotees. Someone was giving you prasadam, someone was wanting to preach to you. That's our concept, right? This is our ISKCON concept. We want to preach, we want to tell someone. We don't so much believe in sharing, let's share the experience. When in fact it should be. Because Vedic knowledge is what? Realized knowledge. It's about sharing the realization. What I have explained. Just like you are at a wedding function and it's a prasadam time. There's very nice, absolutely out of this world paneer sabji. And you are taking prasadam. And your little child is running around here and there, and this is nectar. You want to catch hold of him and, make him eat. He's not interested in eating, but you want him to eat still because it's so nice. It's such a wonderful meal. So similarly, devotees who have developed taste or have tasted the nectar of Krishna consciousness, they want others to take it too. And yet, all of us were, maybe today we consider ourselves, on this side of the fence. But once upon a time we were all the others. That side of the fence. So somebody came in touch with us. Now, all of us, we took up Krishna consciousness. But you just remember that when you decided to take shelter of the Supreme Personality of Godhead or take shelter of the devotional service, what was on your mind? What was on your mind? And I'm sure if we think of that moment when we decided to become Krishna conscious, we all wanted to love Krishna. Isn't it? That was the reason why, that was the obvious difference between what we all were doing, what we were all exposed to, or we may say whatever family traditions we had, whatever religious belief systems we followed. This was the sparkling difference that Srila Prabhupada was giving us access to Krishna Prema. And being in the practice of Krishna consciousness, we need to sometimes take a break from your service, take a break from everything, sit back and reflect. What was the goal I wanted, and therefore I took up all the sacrifices? And how close am I getting to that goal in these many years of practice of Krishna consciousness? I see this verse is giving us guidance to that effect. This verse provokes us to sit back and reflect. I think when you look at this verse, we are all chanting Hare Krishna. In spite of one's chanting the holy name of the Lord, with concentration. We put so much effort to chanting the pure holy name, right? Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu has guided us. He said, Bahu janma kari yadi shravana kirtana tabutana pai Krishna pada prema. Even after many, many lifetimes of chanting Hare Krishna, we will not get Krishna prema. This is the point we are saying, value for your money. You know how much good should fill up your basket with $100 of money. Similarly, the process of chanting Hare Krishna, the process of pure devotional service we must know it has the purchasing power of Krishna Prema. So we cannot settle for anything less. If you settle for anything less means we have been cheated. Or that we have allowed ourselves to be cheated. We have allowed ourselves to be cheated. You know, one thing that comes to me, I am constantly thinking about it, that are we, you know, it is very nice that I reflect on my spiritual life. I remember the days when we were coming to Fiji School of Nursing and Medical College. In those days, you know, it's fond memories. I feel, you know, it gives me lots of inspiration, lots of good memories, and builds up my enthusiasm and inspiration and motivation. But reflecting on that, what comes to mind? Generally, all the devotees that will come across, you will say, we had those wonderful, blissful days. We are now feeling a little bit of a lack. That's why we are relishing the memories. We are saying, those wonderful days. Those wonderful days. But how does that help us into the future? I think in today's times what it does is, it sometimes creates demotivations for us. We think, you know, we are not in the right space now. Those were the good old days. Like that. So I, for myself, trying to motivate my own self, in the association of devotees, reading the scriptures, keeping on with the practice of Krishna consciousness, I think Krishna has sort of given me an inspiration that how about, fond memories are wonderful, but how about, now let's think about how much more time do we have to get to the destination. I think when we take a flight, I was coming here to Sydney, so you know, when you get into the flight takes off. I think, you know, after 10, 15 minutes, after 10, 15, 20, 30 minutes of flight, it's just natural, you want to just see, you know, what's the time remaining. And I thought for a moment, you know, this is exactly what we should do in Krishna consciousness. If I am 50 years old, and given the global statistics, you know, mobility rates of different countries and all that, if I were to leave my body at 60, then that means I have only 10 more years to complete my race. And that reminds me, a very wonderful thought, you know, a saintly person said, if I were to ask all of you, raise your hands, all of you who think, after experiencing the blissfulness of Krishna consciousness, that you feel that I should have started this many, many years ago, you know, when I was, probably, you know, when I was a little baby, I should have started then. Huh? Don't we all feel like that? Yeah. Huh? But this Swami is saying that once we say that, you know, I regret having not taken up Krishna consciousness much more earlier, but if we just look at our own activities for now, we are actually setting up our future for more delays. Huh? I'm not saying we should not get educated. I'm not saying we should not work a job, we should not have a family. I'm not denying all this. This is all part of the natural flow of life. And I think, you know, if we take up to negation, it won't help. Huh? it will simply disturb our mind, and we disturb mind, forget about Krishna consciousness. Because certainly, I think, if we were to say, we are like Sudama, there's no food in the house, let's celebrate Ekadashi. No one of us are in that mood at any point in time. For us, I think, if tomorrow is Ekadashi, we start the meditation today, start the preparation of the feast today. What we will be doing on Ekadashi tomorrow? So we are certainly not at that. We're certainly not at that. But see, we have what we think, what we assume should have been. But the challenge is, how do we live it? That is why this Bhagavatam, this chapter is saying, the change in the heart. We must know the goal. You and I all, we knew the goal. We wanted to be educated. We wanted a good job. I didn't feel like going to school. But everyone motivated me that if you have good education, we were being, when we were being raised. Of course, everyone, all of our parents were saying, don't play for now, do this, don't do this now, complete this, because this opportunity will not come again. But however, once you get educated, you get a good job, you have everything nice, all these things you can do. So these principles which operate in the material world are nothing but principles from the spiritual world. But it is only perverted. जो भी कुछ संसार में हो रहा है, वो सब भगवान धाम में होता है. केवल फर्क क्या है? डिफरेंस क्या है? यहां पर विपरीत है. यहां पर हमारा इंद्रिय मालिक है, भोग करना चाहता है. वहां पर परम पुरुषोत्तम भगवान, जो हम सभी लोगों के स्रोत हैं, सोर्स हैं, जिनसे पूरा जगत उत्पन्न होता है, उनको भोक्ता राम जगह तपसाम सर्वलोक महेश्वर. Krishna consciousness is about understanding this point. So, जो समय बचा हुआ है, उसके लिए क्या करना है? जो पथ पर हमारे माता पिता, दादा दादी, हम चलकर आ गए हैं, just like we want to create everything for our future generations. Don't you think we should create that spiritual opportunity? Yet Maharaj is saying, we all aspire to be Krishna conscious. Much more earlier we should have become devotees. But sometimes devotees don't think. We are actually training our future generations for the same rat race that we have been through, we complain about, yet we're still pushing our future generations into that. I was just meditating about my Gurudev at the conference that we're going through. Very interesting points of discussion. And then I remember one time one of my godbrothers asked Tamal Krishna Maharaj that how did you decide to fully surrender to Srila Prabhupada? How did you decide to fully surrender to Srila Prabhupada? So Srila Gurudev gave a very simple answer. He said Srila Prabhupada requested him. Srila Prabhupada requested him. He said, just give one life to Krishna. Just give one life to Krishna. We are all eternal beings. We have been in this material world for many, many lifetimes. 110,000 or 100 years of life into the eternity of spirituality, that is even smaller than the spirit soul. So what loss? And again, even if we doubted, even if we doubt, there is life example of success of that sacrifice. Just giving one life to Krishna. I was just thinking, for my motivation, my own spiritual master is that symbol of success. So what more evidence do I need to build confidence, to build faith, that for once if we give our lives to, and we are all living examples. In no way we are saying we don't live up to the standard of the world, but we can all live up in detachment. Srila Prabhupada says, what's the motto? Simple living, high thinking. Simple living, high thinking. The other day, yesterday, some Prabhu was driving me to the temple. And he was asking me, when we are doing devotional service, how do we better our devotional service? There's so many rules. We have to get over our lust, we have to get over anger, calm, krodh, mad, moh, lobh, etc. So I was sharing with him that I find a very simple living as a solution. What is a very simple living? Srila Prabhupada gives an example. If I tell you to not think of color red, what comes to your mind? If we give our focus to all the negations, you are actually not. Whilst Chaitanya Mahaprabhu said that we have to be mindful of the 10 offenses with the holy names in order to be able to chant the Shuddha Nama, and we make every effort to be very attentive to the fact that we are not committing the 10 offenses, actually you have shifted your meditation from the holy name to the offenses. And the offenses will actually start manifesting. We are supposed to be meditating on Krishna. We are supposed to be meditating on that. But if we don't do that, then even these things might appear in our lives, but still our hearts are steel framed. Let us all make an effort. We must. Krishna consciousness is not for judging others. Krishna consciousness is for me. Anything in spiritual life is for me. The other day I was having a discussion with devotees and we said, in today's context, I don't know if you have, we have our GBC Minister for Communication, Anuttama Prabhu. He wrote a very wonderful Vyasa Puja offering to Srila Prabhupada. And the offering, Prabhuji is writing to Srila Prabhupada, that how we can actually achieve our goal of Krishna consciousness in the simplicity of things that we did. Srila Prabhupada did a very simple thing. Very simple thing. I think in the name of research or, more quality, higher quality, all these things we want to do. The guiding principles for the next 10,000 years for Krishna consciousness is Srila Prabhupada's books. He is the Acharya for the youth. And therefore we must all think as much as possible to keep in alignment with Srila Prabhupada. That is a simple thing. Very simple. I know the whole world is worshipping Krishna. But the whole world can be like, I like this example, the whole world can be like Loi Bazaar. Those devotees have gone to Vrindavan. You go to Loi Bazaar, there are many, many shops. If you go to Vrindavan in Kartik, every shop owner puts the picture of Srila Prabhupada in front of them. And what do our devotees do? They see the picture of Prabhupada. We have to be very, very careful. The whole world is worshipping Krishna. That's fine. We are very happy about it. But the success of the process is known from the outcome. Sometimes, people say, you go to the Hare Krishna temples, you go to a Hare Krishna discussion, ISKCON. Basically, we get back to the four relative principles and chanting Krishna. We are only trying to chant Krishna's name, and practice, ahimsa, tapasya, and all these things. Basically, one time, Tamal Krishna Maharaj was giving a class in Lambasa, PG, and somebody said, Maharaj, it's always the same thing if people say. Isn't there something higher? Maharaj said, only if you rose higher, then I can speak something higher. If I can see that you are not getting off the basics, that means you just simply need revision of the basics. But it will motivate, you can motivate your own self. One of the principles in devotional service is utsaha. One of the principles that will give you progress in Krishna consciousness is utsaha. Now, how do you get utsaha? Of course, you need other devotees to inspire you. But so many places, even getting inspiration from the devotees is difficult. Even inspiration, I think so many times, rather than getting motivated for Krishna Prem, we sort of get into a sweet competition. To keep yourself motivated, of course, we take shelter of Srila Prabhupada's books, but more than that, I think, having the ability to introspect your own spiritual lives. Very, very important. I sometimes think that the current times, we are fortunate. Mataji and Prabhuji are fortunate that, our generation are devotees. Right? So we may do the pinda, we may do, other things, for their salvation. But what does the future look like? It seems there is very little hope in the future. Why? Even despite the Krishna consciousness, why little hope? Because even I think in Krishna consciousness, we are becoming more and more focused on the rituals of the practices as opposed to the enlightenment and reawakening of the dormant love of Krishna. I think when I reflect, my observation is, on the path of spirituality, actually there are 4 categories of people that would like to come in touch with Krishna consciousness. The very first and basic category of people is that we'd like to become affiliated to the process of Krishna consciousness, and it's my personal terminology, I say, we'd like to become social devotees. We want some affiliation. Just like in the university, we have a social night. So we all get together to enjoy the moment. So in today's world, sometimes, people like to be part of. And I think, Anuttama Prabhu says, we attract a lot of people these days because on the level of social identification. I'm a member of, I'm a life member of, I'm a devotee of, Then, higher than social devotees are religious devotees. Who are religious devotees? religious devotees are persons who have put in some fear in their heart. So they'd like to be associated with spirituality. And in that fear, we do certain rituals. And generally, like, Indian families, I've seen, like, we tell our children, what are the tulsi of our obeisances? You go and do the arti. The rituals of things. This is integral part of the practice, because these are the devotional activities. But really, the underlying understanding why we do these things. Because at the very basic level, even Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita, at the very basic level, Krishna is saying, whatever you do. So the first stage, of course, the first stage is, say for example, we take the example of offering food. First stage is, people are not taking prasadam, right? So you bring them to the stage of offering. When they come to the first stage of offering, the concept is basically whatever you eat, you offer. But then this has to be progressed to the stage of sarva dharmat pariteja mamekam sharanam vraja. First is whatever you eat, but then finally it is to be what pleases Krishna. We have to make that progress. We have to rise up. So then we have second category of devotees who are religious devotees. So out of fear, why am I chanting 16 rounds? Because I made a promise, because I'm an initiated devotee. Sometimes people think I should have waited a bit more. So that means out of religious. Why do I follow the four relative principles? It is still religious devotees. Now the third category of devotees are spiritualists. Srimad Bhagavatam describes the four Kumaras were spiritualists. They did not believe in the form of the Lord, but they were spiritualists. They were searching for the absolute truth. But Chaitanya Mahaprabhu has given us access to the fourth and the highest class of devotees, which is pure devotees. Pure devotees means absolutely looking from Krishna's perspective. We are looking from Krishna's perspective. So when I'm thinking of my own spiritual life, it gives me motivation. It gives me motivation to do something more when I'm thinking about how much more time do I have. Otherwise, the whole material creation is Krishna's intelligence. Illusion is what? Krishna's intelligence. What is the meaning of illusion? That which is not. That which is not. We have to be very, very careful about this. Otherwise the world, which is having a rat race, appears to us as so much more real that just as we have Agyat Sukriti, unknowingly, we have taken prasadam and we've made a spiritual advancement. Unknowingly, we will be sucked into the whirlpool of material existence. This is again, Bhagavatam describes, when it describes material existence, it does not say material it does not simply describe that material existence is like an ocean. It says, Prabhupada used a very beautiful word. It says the whirlpool of material existence. What is the quality of whirlpool? How do you describe? Yes. The whirlpool, certainly goes round and round, but it does not go round and round only. It sucks you in, it pulls you in. It pulls you in. So we have to be very careful. We have to be very careful. I get reminded of one story from the Puranas. There was once a farmer, and again it might not be a very nice example, but the lesson is very nice. So the farmer was actually not farming vegetables, he was an animal farmer. So there was one jackal who used to come and take away one animal at a time, one chicken at a time, say. So then the farmer was thinking, how can I stop this? How can I stop this? He's trying various means, but the jackal is very smart. Every time, puts up the fence, the jackal goes under the fence, or jumps over the fence, put electrocuted fence, somehow the other, the jackal finds a way. So then it came to his mind, probably the way to catch the jackal would be, somebody gave him, probably the wife in the home gave the idea, that let's make a big flour dough and keep it very soft. So as soon as the jackal will walk over it, he will get trapped. So the jackal came one night, and as soon as he put his first foot into the dough, he sensed it that my foot is caught. Then he's using his intelligence. One foot is caught, but if I put the second foot and give a little bit of pressure, I'll be able to pull this one out. So he went and put a little bit of, just enough to, get the energy, sort of give power to this foot to pull out. So when he was doing that, this one also went in. So now the two front foot is caught. He's not giving up. He said that if I were to just give little bit support from my back foot, I'll be able to pull the front foot up. So he put both his back foot, gave a little bit of support, and tried to pull the front foot. The back foot also got stuck. So the lesson is, material existence is like that. Material existence. The material existence, the whole material creation is Krishna's intelligence. So don't underestimate it. Don't underestimate it. Srila Prabhupada made a very, very wonderful statement. Prabhupada said, just like sometimes we have Bhagavatam class, one time one reporter came to a morning program. So he wanted to see what was happening. So all the devotees, they wake up at 4 a.m. in the morning, have cold showers. After having the cold showers, you definitely go to Mangalarti or jumping up and down because you want to create some warmth. So the reporter said, they become very enthusiastic, chanting, dancing up and down. And then everyone gets together and gets into this buzzing session of Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Krishna, Krishna. You're feeling cold as well, you're trying to finish your japa. And then when it comes to Bhagavatam class, it's a rest time. You catch up on your lost sleep. So Prabhupada said that of course as devotees we might catch up, we may sleep during the Bhagavatam class, but Maya never sleeps. Maya never sleeps. So we have to all individually think about ourselves. Sometimes, in my realization, I think sometimes we still so much believe that Krishna's mercy, and I encourage all of you to please read Brihad Bhagavatamrita, this book Brihad Bhagavatamrita, where there are different categories of devotees are all being described. I think in so much so that this movement, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu has given us a process for Krishna Prem. I think we still very much believe or we measure Krishna's mercy by the material successes that is given. I sometimes feel very awkward, describing it this way. Because somebody can say, well, you have a house, you have a property, you have a well-settled family. That's all right. I don't deny it. And I don't want to take away that right from anyone to become settled that way. But measuring Krishna's blessings in the form of material successes is again undervalue for your dollar, undervalue for the chanting that you are doing, undervalue for the process of devotional service that you are doing. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu has described the whole process of devotional service, the whole Bhagavatam that Prabhupada has translated, the whole teachings of Bhagavad Gita, or if you go higher than that, whatever Vedas, Lord Brahma has given, Vyasa have written, everything. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu has described that in just simple 8 verses, the Shishtashtaka. Where does it begin? Chanting Hare Krishna. Krishna Nam Sankirtan. Sri Krishna Sankirtan. And you don't have to describe too much of how do you get out of the material entanglement. It's only mentioned in the first verse. That's all. Just in the first verse, Yasodharpan Mahajana. Just one statement about. And the solution to everything is Krishna Nam Sankirtan. Now, from the second verse, it's all the focus into the future. It's all the focus into the future. And that future, you and I must consider or measure in terms of the remaining years of our life. I'm sure, I'm not saying that we will be making a perfect prediction, but let's follow worldly statistics and make a draft plan. Just like we do for our material life. I finished my high school, in next 3 years I should finish my bachelor's, the next 2 years I finish my postgrad, by the age of 30, I should be married and settled, by 40, I should have this many properties, by 55, I should be all set, and 60 I can retire. Similarly, we should have a plan for our spiritual life. We should have a plan for our spiritual life. Just like in the material life, you go to university, you're supposed to finish your bachelor's program, completing your 24, 25, 26 units. But you seem to have, made attempts like, 30 units, and you're still not able to graduate. There needs to be a change in the plan. Right? Maybe this is not for you. So similarly in our spiritual life, we must think like that. Radhanath Swami Maharaj very nicely says, the only difficulty with us is, each of us must think, the only difficulty I have is how much am I feeling the urgency of Krishna consciousness. That's like, I'm sure many more people have been invited to the program, but you put your prioritization. There's something more urgent, I can catch up with this later on. So in our individual lives, we must think like that. And I think the outside environment is providing us this opportunity to think like that. The social media, whatever we thought, just a few years ago, we were thinking, these things are taboo, we don't talk about it, it's not for public consumption, or, we'd never be exposed. We don't want our children exposed to all these things. These things are all out there. What can you do? It should just increase, or, should bring urgency in our lives. Just today we were discussing. We're so happy about AI. I think the most, just as I say, Jagat Guru Srila Prabhupada ki jai. I think, we should say, Jagat Guru is actually Google Guru. Google has become anything and everything you can find on Google. It has now developed to the next stage, artificial intelligence. Which means, Prabhupada can be giving new instructions now. Huh? AI, yes. I'm just coming from a very recent experience. Somebody did a AI in Fiji, and the current governor of the Reserve Bank of Fiji, on the AI, somebody made a video, him making an announcement that you invest $500 and you get $80,000 in return. So we should understand that these things, it's not only material thing, it's going to affect the spiritual spaces. And Prabhupada has predicted that, his books will be the law books for Krishna consciousness for the next 10,000 years. As much as, these things provide us so much efficiency, but AI is going to change the words here. So everyone get hard copies of Srila Prabhupada's books, that will be the Shabda Praman. Everyone is Bhagavatam, buy all the books of Srila Prabhupada and have it in your homes. Because when AI will be giving you some, preparing your class and you do an AI, you may be completely deviated from the principles of what Srila Prabhupada is doing. So you and I are very lucky. It's just like the Goswamis or the great Acharyas, Narottam Das Thakur and them. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was just arm's length away. For us, Prabhupada is just arm's length away. So we are very much in the closest shelter of Srila Prabhupada. And therefore, we must not let this opportunity go. And that is what my Guru Maharaj used to always say. This lifetime, it's only a matter of one lifetime. Little sacrifices. Many, many lifetimes we have eaten. Many, many lifetimes we have, slept. Many, many lifetimes we have had families. Many, many lifetimes, we have defended ourselves, protected ourselves, invested into all these things. For once, let's protect the soul. Just for once. And we should all sit back and reflect. So we are very, very blessed that we still have. I feel so grateful and thankful to Krishna that Krishna has not given up on me. It's not that I'm not prone to mistakes. I am. I'm as human as everyone else. And as the saying goes, Buddha is human. So everyone is supposed to make mistakes. If in the material world no one is making any mistakes, I think that's dangerous. We are not perfect. We are not perfect. But we are following a perfect process. So let us not be, we are takers of the, just like Srila Prabhupada gives an example of a bank teller. The bank teller handles so much money. But is it at any point in time the bank teller thinks, the money is his or hers? If he does, there's problem for him, and then problem for the bank, and problem for all the people who have given in their money there. So we have got this very rich process of Krishna consciousness. Now if we mishandle it, if we misrepresent it, what is going to happen? There will be so much of lost opportunity for so many other people. Any tree is judged by the fruits. So if you were to look at the tree of ISKCON, it is going to be judged by the fruit. And who are the fruits? You and I. You and I. I think Srila Prabhupada said, if I had any credit, it was I was giving my best shot at following Bhaktisiddhanta Thakur, my spiritual master. I think we all need to think deep like this. And this does not only apply to devotees. I think when you raise it a level up, it applies to us as human beings. The responsibility of a human being is to achieve love of God. Is anyone sitting here going to say, you are completely satisfied with everything material that you've got? You thought I'll be satisfied when I've completed my education. Then the dissatisfaction was you're not getting a job. Then you were satisfied that you got a job. Maybe then you decided, working at CWM was not satisfactory. You got on a job, then you get dissatisfied. I'm not getting paid enough. So maybe there's a job evaluation. Your salary gets reviewed. Then you are happy. Then after a year or two, you are again dissatisfied. You're not getting a promotion. So every step we are taking, the first step we take is satisfaction, then it turns into dissatisfaction. So we must think of all these perspectives. And then we'll find that the ultimate solution is in Krishna consciousness. And when that ultimate solution, let us put effort to achieving the change in the heart, the result that should happen. Our Guru Maharaj has done that. Krishna Maharaj is, the fine example of the fruit of Krishna consciousness. What Krishna consciousness transforms you into. So we are very happy. We are all very happy to worship our spiritual master because he is the fruit of pure devotional service. But let us also think that I should also become a fine fruit of the tree of my spiritual master. I should become that fine fruit of human life. So whilst we do so many things, we achieve so many things, even in the corporate world, for any organization, for visionary leaders, there is supposed to be sometimes sitting back and reflecting. Sitting back, reflecting and re-strategizing. That's why you see in corporate organizations, the corporate plans, they get revisited like every 5 years or so. And then you have to put it in the context of the market conditions, and all these things. Same principle in spiritual life. Same principle. I think, that is why every time Srila Prabhupada is saying it's spiritual life. But I know we all as Indian bodied, we have the jargon for spiritual life is puja. And I think that is the difficulty that we have. I think it creates a difficulty for us. Let's not get trapped into puja. This is a science of Krishna consciousness. When we say science of Krishna consciousness, I've been an art student, accounting and finance, so we know, debits and credits, and this is how it should be. But all of those who are science students have science background. You have done experiments in your school labs. The ingredients are there. The method is there. The process is there to be followed. And the outcome is already defined. Because then only you can measure that you did not apply the process rightly, or you did not use the ingredients properly, or you did not have the right ingredients. So similarly, Krishna consciousness is a science. The goal is defined already. Love of Krishna. Everything else, if the result is anything else, you must understand there has been some defect in the application of the process or the use of wrong ingredients. Prabhu also gives the example. The sugar mill is built for making sugar. The molasses is byproduct of it. We don't make sugar mills for producing molasses. I personally, deep down in my heart, doing this service for this organization and for my spiritual advancement, I do the service of sharing Krishna consciousness. And my heart says that we need to have this conversation. Apart from the Bhagavatam class that we have, apart from, the sermons that we have, we need to have this practical conversation and practical reminders that why are we here? Very easy to be deviated from the path. Very easy to be deviated. We can go into other directions very easily. We can still be, here it says, you're still chanting. Prabhu will say, no, Prabhu, this is Prabhupada's. But inside the heart is going like this, yes, I'm good. And that's why everything will just go away. The whole relationship will change. The whole process will start giving a different result. Different result. You start up a preaching center, you start up a temple, and the devotees will get together and say, Prabhu, you founded this temple. Today they are saying you founded this temple, tomorrow, a week later, they might come and say you founded the movement. They might even say you founded Prabhupada. You found Prabhupada for us. So you've got to be very, very careful. Very, very careful. So, really, I would say, whatever Krishna inspires, we've got to leave ourselves in the hands of Krishna. At this point in time, the thought comes to my mind, I don't know whether you're expecting a discussion like that, or I was certainly not meditating on a discussion like that, but probably from this translation, Krishna drove me this way. And I hope it creates value for your spiritual life. It adds value for your spiritual life. Because my service is, if Krishna wants me to do that, then I would really want to create some value. If there is no value proposition, I'm just wasting my time, I'm wasting your time. Actually, I'm wasting my time in Krishna consciousness. I would say, I myself am wasting my life in this, when I'm not going to get the desired result. So I want to follow in the footsteps of my spiritual master and make sure, I want to make sure that just as he has achieved his success, just on one word, Prabhupada, give your life to him. We should all give our lives to him. And I'm not saying we walk out of our houses, don't expect after the class, Navadwipa will go with me and say. And whoever leaves the house last, the house belongs to you now. I might decide to stay back and chase everyone out. But giving your life to, I think we have great examples in our disability succession. We have Bhakti Vinod Thakur, who had like 11 children. He was a magistrate. He was a temple president of Jagannath temple. And he was writing so many books. So many things he was doing. So we must be attentive to the fact and some or the other, keep it in view all the time. Paste it on the walls of your house or wherever you are. Keep reminding yourself, my goal is Krishna Prema. Sarva. Hare Krishna. Thank you very much. Anyone has any questions or you'd like to make a comment or please. Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna. Don't ask a very difficult question. I'm not a complicated person.
It was very nice class and very thought-provoking. I like the example you gave about shopping trolley and taking that $100 and giving that. So you're saying, if I understand correctly, that this purchasing power that we have got is to purchase Krishna Prema, and we should not misuse that.
Yes.
Prabhu, you explained many things already in terms of how we can progress, but any key things from your own experience you can share with us how you can actually get the full value of the love of Krishna. Because when we practice, we find adaptas are coming, and your ritualistic mindset comes, and pride is still there. So how do we overcome this?
You're asking a very difficult question. And I think, I don't know how many of you will want to believe me. I would say, not that I'm successful yet, but I'm finding effectiveness. I think every devotee should have some sort of measure of your progress. You should be able to measure yourself. Are you moving? Just like our spiritual life. I like this example to give in response to your question, and that's how I conduct my life. I learned this in very early days when I joined Krishna consciousness. There was a devotee who was sort of guiding us, Anjana Sutta Prabhu. I don't know how many of you know him. So he gave this example that when you take a flight, when the plane is taking off, you look out the window, you can see everything is moving back. When we become devotees initially, we can see, I've become vegetarian, I've given up, this, I'm doing this, I've given up bad association. You can see all these things. So that means you are only taking off, because you look out the window, you can see all the things going back, moving back. Those buildings, those trees, when you are still on the runaway, and the initial stages when the plane is going up, you can still see or feel that. But once the plane is in the sky, you look out the window, it's all the same. And then you might, generally in a Krishna conscious context, you might start wondering, what's happening? Am I making progress? And when it comes to landing, then you can start seeing your destination, things coming forward your way. So of course, taking off is when we take into Krishna consciousness. Landing is of course that Krishna Prem, and I get reminded of Gopa Kumar, he enters the Golok Vrindavan Dham, and Krishna sees him, and Krishna sees him, he sees Krishna, and both of them fight. And when Krishna comes to consciousness again, Krishna sees him, and Krishna is saying, where have you been? Not like as, oh my God, why has he come? Sometimes we are thinking, we are doing so much for Krishna, but really, we're saying, when the sun rises in the morning, oh no, another 16 rounds to be done. We are not, our tears are not because, Hare Krishna, our tears are because after those 16 rounds. So, the response to your question is, what is the status when we are in flight? You can't determine. You can't determine whether you are heading your destination or like MH131 will disappear in between somewhere. But the important thing that when you are in flight is to remain seated with your seat belt, even when the seat belt light is off. Now applying it to my personal life, I want to keep myself very close to the very simple guidance of Sri Prabhu. It is very interesting. We can get into the study of many literatures and this and that, and have so much information. I can really impress you by producing all the information. But what is the point if we are not making spiritual progress? If we are not heading towards love of God? So, my way of making progress, or my thought, or the way I think I'm judging myself, I'm measuring myself, is how much I can keep myself aligned to the simplicity of Srila Prabhupada. Just like you said, of course, we get into the rituals. And some of you might choose to disagree. That's all right. We are all free to our opinions. But in my take, the way I think, when Srila Prabhupada started this movement, Srila Prabhupada introduced doing arti. And in those early days, they would light up the agarbatti and they would keep waving the agarbatti for 20 minutes when the kirtan is going on. And the agarbatti is completely burnt out. That's the simplicity. Of course, now we have a very elaborate research. Go to Narad Panchatra and all these things, all the mudras and these. I have no opposition to anything like that. You be my guest. Congratulations to you. If you can deep dive into it, be my guest. But for my spiritual life, I think I'm getting more progress waving the incense for 20 minutes than into further details. So that way I think I'm not into rituals. The philosophy behind 20 minutes of waving the arati, even in an ISKCON deity worship book you look at, I think whilst we offer all the various articles, the main principle is Krishna Nam Sankirtan. It's not about offering the articles. You may not offer the articles. I remember one time with Krishna Maharaj, in Fiji, with Vedyas Maharaj, we made a plan, we just need to have Gonita deities in every home. And Krishna Maharaj said, there's only two things you have to do. Just offer the deities some fruits and sing for them Hare Krishna mantra. And that's why they are called happy dogs. Then just be happy with them. I think this simplicity of Krishna consciousness will get us to Krishna Prem much more faster than the sophistication. Just like in the material world we become sophisticated, I think these days in spiritual life we are becoming very, very sophisticated. So the real tapasya for me, I think, is in remaining and maintaining the simplicity. Getting into the sophistication is very easy. Just go with the flow. You can't beat them, join them. But my experience of Krishna consciousness in the last 35 years, I've seen many phases of Krishna consciousness. And I think if I were to draw a conclusion, my conclusion is just, I always reflect to Prabhupada's statement, simple living, high living. When it even comes to Krishna conscious practices, I think all of us will agree, when we became devotees first, we were doing nice chanting. Why? Because we knew and truly we were completely ignorant to the aspects of Krishna consciousness. So we were there with the simplest of the heart. But being in Krishna consciousness, now we have these designations. You are a bhakta. You are a first initiate. You are a brahmana. Prabhu, I have been this in movement for 20 years. This is all the upadhis. What is pure devotional service? Sarva upadhi vinimukta. So it's in the simplicity. It's in the simplicity. So I'm just happy with the simple practice of Krishna consciousness. And I think by my measurement, I may not be making progress to the expectation of my spiritual master, but I'm taking little steps. And I think all of us can use this principle. And I'm happy to progress this way, because I also do get validation from Prabhupada's books that I'm on the right path. And you match the descriptions and you're on. So I think, the secret is that, we actually just keep it simple, and keep it aligned to Srila Prabhupada's. It's just like one other thing I would like to say. again, this is, we think like this. When Srila Prabhupada was establishing this movement and spreading Krishna consciousness, there was this very beautiful combination. Prabhupada was translating the books and the devotees were reading the books. When Prabhupada did the Chaitanya Charitamrita, he had a competition with the devotees. He said, I'll write and you read, like that. I think in today's context also, the same motivation is there. I think any new book comes off hot off the press, we all want to read. But now, in our movement, we have devotees who have read Prabhupada's books and now reading into new books. But we have our generation who have not read Prabhupada's books and we want to read all the new books. So there is going to be a foundational lack. So that is why, my preference is the guidelines of Srila Prabhupada's books. I think, even if you read all the translations, purport is the guidance. Bhaktivedanta purport is the guidance of the subject matter. And I know I can impress you better, if I did not have it at all and I'm just doing it by heart. But I choose to keep making reference because I want to keep myself aligned with Srila Prabhupada. If I'm aligned with Srila Prabhupada, then I'm creating value for you. Otherwise, we can have a social. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. So thank you very much. What's the next program? Can you have a little kirtan or you have an arti?
Yes, of course.
Yeah.
We have arti. Arti ki kirtan. Arti ki kirtan.
But kirtan there are three.
Yeah.
Kirtan there.
What?
Kirtan there.
Okay.